Hey friends, we're back again for the Spell Thief, and we're going to be reading chapter 8 today. Chapter 8 is called Spelling Trouble. Over the next few days, Jack returned to see Lily many times. In fact, he was seeing more of her than anyone else. Every time Jack visited her, Lily traded a spell for one of his memories. But every time, something went wrong. After the truth spell, Jack had tried a mind reading spell. He'd been convinced that if he could see what Anansi was thinking, he'd be able to catch him lying. But as it happened, he hadn't even gotten close to Anansi. Lily hadn't explained that Jack would be able to read the minds of every single living thing. It was just too much. Hundreds of different people, all at the same time, thinking things like, I'm hungry, or I feel a little tired, but usually, how about a nice cup of tea? As if that wasn't bad enough, he could hear all the animals' thoughts too. They tended to run along the lines of, that looks like a tasty looking worm, and I wonder why that bird is looking at me like that. Usually followed by, I'm being eaten by a bird. Jack had made it very as far as the edge of our town before he had given up and run off somewhere to be completely alone. Even then, he could hear a depressed earwig wishing that it had been born as a tiger instead. The next spell gave Jack hypnotic powers. Lily told him that all he had to do was look into someone's eyes and they would be completely hypnotized for 8 hours. Jack had gulped the potion in one foul-tasting gulp, but there was no tingly feeling, no flash of lightning or puff of smoke. As soon as his mom had left for work, he took the quickest possible peek in a mirror just to see if he could tell if it was actually working. Jack stared and stared at his reflection. Oh boy. Until he didn't even feel like he was standing in front of a mirror anymore. Instead, he was diving through shining pools of light and drifting along in a warm, relaxing world with no sense of space or time. The next thing he knew, his mom was opening the door as she came home for the end of the day. He felt incredibly hungry and had been drooling down the front of his sweater. Hello, Jack, his mom called out with a smile. You look like you've stood there all day. Make me a cup of tea, would you, love? I'm parched. Nearly a week had passed since Anansi had arrived into Tailtown. Jack and Betsy had come back to see Lily again. He floated sadly in the underwater cave. I just don't get it, he exclaimed. It's like none of the others can see what Anansi's up to. They all think he's the best thing that's ever happened. Why can't they just see the truth? It's just so obvious. What? Squawked Betsy quietly. Of course it's obvious, exclaimed Jack, looking over to Lily. I'm with Betsy, said Lily. After all, you don't know for sure that he's a troll spy. Why don't you just try being friends with him? Then you could ask him what's going on. I think that's really great advice. Jack snorted loudly. What? Friends? With Anansi? He's a spy. I saw him talking to that troll in the woods, remember? If he really was a troll, said Lily, or working with the trolls, don't you think he'd have done something by now? What? Squawked Betsy, agreeing, nodding with her head. So you're both on his side now, too. Is that it? Don't be silly, replied Lily. It's just, well, I've spent a long time not having many friends myself. She looked a little bit sad. Apart from you, I don't really have any normal friends. So I feel a little sorry for this boy, all on his own, miles away from his home. He is a troll spy, stated Jack. And that's all there is to it. You're going to start running out of memories to if you keep buying spells, Jack, said Lily sadly. Why not quit while you're ahead? But I'm not ahead, am I? Said Jack. So I would like to buy another spell, please, if you'd be so kind. Lily rolled her eyes. I suppose you could try a magic mirror. I've got one that reveals the true nature of whoever it looks into it. Perfect, Jack grinned. I'll take it. Jack was flying a kite with his mom and dad on the big hill outside of Tailtown. His parents were arm in arm, smiling. Jack looked up at them and felt warm glow inside. A strong gust of wind suddenly swept down, snapping the string and carrying the kite far out to sea. Jack felt a pang of sadness when his dad smiled and took an old handkerchief out of his pocket. He bound it to some twigs and reattached it to the broken string. Moments later, the makeshift kite was dancing in the sky once more. For a moment, the memory lingered in Jack's mind. Then it vanished, as though it had almost never been there. Jack cackled to himself as he waited for Red, Anansi, and the others to walk past. The cackle had caught him by surprise. Now that he'd heard himself doing so, he felt uncomfortable. It was a bit like a normal laugh, but with all the fun and enjoyment sucked out of it. It wasn't a nice sound. Betsy looked at Jack for a long time. She didn't say anything, but somehow Jack could tell that she wasn't happy. What? He asked. But Betsy just bent down and pecked at the floor angrily. After a short wait, Jack saw his friends walking toward him. Lily had wrapped the mirror up so he didn't accidentally reveal it to anyone else's true nature to them. Just as Anansi was getting close, Jack pulled out the mirror, but he was holding it the wrong way. Staring back at Jack from the mirror's glassy surface was a boy with red hair. At first glance, the boy looked just like him. Then, as Jack looked closer, he noticed a cold, hard glint in the boy's tired eyes. The boy stared back at Jack with such sad loneliness that Jack gasped. Was that really him? Jack, Anansi's voice rang out. What are you doing? As Jack spun around, the mirror slipped from his fingers and fell to the floor, shattering in tiny pieces. Are you all right? Asked Anansi, rushing over to help him. Jack shooed him away and tried to pick up some of the pieces, desperate to see if they would still work, but all the jagged shards reflected now was a normal scene. Jack, Anansi said quietly, bending down to look at Jack in the eye. I don't know what you're up to, but I do know a magic mirror when I see one. Jack's eyes widened as Anansi continued. Whatever it is that you think you know, I'd just forget it if I were you. Jack jumped up angrily. You might have fooled them, he snarled, nodding at Red and the others, but not me. And then he turned and ran off with Betsy flapping after him. Oh boy. Friends, it looks like Jack's kind of losing himself a little bit. He's acting angry, he's losing beautiful memories, and none of these spells are working. Lily had a great idea. Why doesn't he just be friends with Anansi? I think that's a really good idea. I hope that he does it. What do you think's going to happen? Check back tomorrow for another chapter. Have a great day. Bye.